Hello, I'm the Code Guy and you're watching my beginner's guide to Python. This is episode 3 and we're going to talk about functions. We're going to cover what a function is, why we should use them, and then how to do them within Python. Okay, so what is a function? A function basically allows us to package several lines of related code together into a piece of functionality within our code. Basically, it turns that code into a black box that we can reuse over and over again. It gives you the ability to define inputs and outputs so it's not static, so you or another developer on your team could use it to get the functionality they need within the code, all without having to rewrite it each time they use it. Before I show you how to write one, let's show you the problem it solves. So let's write a quick line of code that takes a user's input and echoes it back to them. We'll then copy that 4 times to simulate it being spread out across our code, and now let's run it. So we got our prompt, and I'm going to type in some random crap, and it's echoing back and telling me it's processing. Now, what happens if someone wants to change this end word here to something else? Maybe you got it. Now I have to change this throughout the code everywhere. If we put this as a function, I could change this in one place. So let's do that now. To create a function, we type the keyword def, which stands for define, and then we give it a name. So we're going to call this echo prompt, and we put our colon. Now, like loops and ifs, this works in the same way in that the indent underneath the function controls what is inside that function. And actually, let's put in a bracket, because you need those in a function. This function isn't going to have any inputs yet, but we can then basically just copy this. And now in our code, whenever we want to use this, we can just replace it with echo prompt. And if we run this again, it should do exactly the same job. And if someone wants to change the prompt to, say, this full stop to an exclamation mark, we can just do it and it works. Now notice that whenever we call it, we're using these double brackets at the end. What is that for? Well, that basically tells us to call the function. If we don't do that, and we just print this, it won't do what you expect. And that's because you'll actually be referencing the function itself and not calling it. So if we do that, you'll see there you're getting function echo prompt at and the memory location. And now it's calling these 3 as you'd expect. What we've done so far is kind of limited. Let's say we want to do something more ambitious. Let's say we want to find the square term of a number. And now we're going to define an input of input number. And in our function now, we can now do return. And return is just the keyword we use at the end of a function to tell it what to return. So that's our output. And the way we do power in Python is to use 2 asterisks. So to get the square, we can do input num **2. And if we now get rid of some of this old stuff, and then we just call num squared, right off the bat, we get an error. Num squared is missing 1 required positional argument, input num, and that's because we haven't specified what the input number is, so the program can't continue. So if we now specify input number as 4, we'll get 16 right. Let's try and run it. And no. Because we didn't tell the function we want to print anything, we told it to return as a number, which is exactly what it's done. We will have to print it ourselves, so if we wrap this in print and run it again, we get 16. Now when we first ran this, we specified input number equals 4. You don't need to do that. You can just pass in 4 and run it, and we'll get 16. We now have a function where we can pass in an input and get an output, and it's consistent. Pass in the same number, we'll get the same output. One of the other things a function can do is actually call another function. So if we define to the power, and then let's create the inputs input num and power, comma separated, and you can guess where we're going with this, we're going to return input num **power. And we can now change our num squared function to call to the power as its return. So return to the power of input num, and power equals 2. And if we run this, we should get 16. Ah, I forgot my number again. Let's add in 4 and run it again. And there we go, 16. If your function happens to have a use case that's more common than others, you can actually specify what a variable's default value would be. So here we set power equals 2, and now if you run to the power input num, it will act exactly the same way as num squared. And we get 16 again. Now, if we actually specify the second parameter, and I'm going to do this deliberately wrong just to show you another feature of functions. So if we put in (4) and run it, you'll see we get an error. Positional argument follows keyword argument. And that's because when you call a function, keyword arguments must always follow positional arguments. So if we change that to (power equals 4) and run it, we'll get 256. So the function's working. Now, just to prove that we can call this without keyword arguments, let's just do (4) and we get 256. And now if we do 4, (power 4), we get 256 again. So the keyword argument can follow the positional argument. That's absolutely fine, just not the other way around. The other thing I want to show you is something called docstrings. So if we go to our string and type 3 double quotes, it will finish them off for us, press enter, and now you'll see we've got param return, and it's specifying our parameters for us. Now this is actually a setting in PyCharm. I think it's File, Settings, Tools, Python Integrated Tools. You can set here the docstring format you want to use. I use restructured text and put analyze Python code in docstring. Now what this allows us to do is enter a comment for someone else who might call this function. So we'll say this function raises a number to the power of another. And then we can say the number to raise and the power to raise that number to, and then we just do return the product of raising input num to the power. And you might be thinking, I don't work with any other developers, so why would I bother? And that's because in 3 months' time, you're going to come back to this function and wonder what the hell you were writing. And this will refresh your memory. Another thing to note as a new developer, or even a long-standing developer, is that you will always look back at code you wrote 3 months ago and think, that's crap, why did I do it that way? That's just to let you know that you're progressing. The functions I've shown you so far have been really simple. They just return something. Now that can be used with real logic. So why don't we use a real-world example? Let's go back to the Guess the Number program we wrote in the last episode. If you didn't watch that, you can go and check it out. There'll be a link in the description. And I'll show you how to refactor some of that code into a function so it's reusable. And what we're going to do is do the input loop, because we're never really happy with this. So how do we turn this input loop into a function? Let's create a function, def get numeric input. And then, so that's the base of our function. And then just going to go and grab our code, which is all of this stuff. I'm going to copy it, the destructive copy, Control X, and paste it. What are we going to do with this? Firstly, tries remaining doesn't really fit here anymore. So we're going to take that out. And we're going to do this straight after our function call. And our function call is going to be what? It's going to be get numeric input. So we know that once it's passed through this, they've entered the number, so we can set it there. We're also going to get rid of our cheat, because we only want numeric input. If we wanted cheat, we'd have to write it back into our code. And now we're going to say guess. What's guess going to be? Guess is going to be accepted input, maybe? Or maybe input num. So PyCharm has a great feature. If we go to right-click, and do refactor, rename, we can change this to input num, and you'll see it's changing both occurrences in here. And then this one we're going to call attempted input, so let's just do exactly the same thing again. Refactor, rename, attempted input, attempted because it could be wrong, and then we're going to set input num here to 0. So whenever it gets back to the start of the loop, it will set it back to 0. Now, sometimes PyCharm will underline stuff. That's because it expects 2 lines between any line and a function or declaration. So let's just add a second one, it'll go away. Now, we got input num here. We can get rid of guess, because guess was what this was. And then get numeric input is actually going to be what guess was. So guess equals get numeric input. Why doesn't it like that? Oh, it doesn't return anything. So if we actually drop out of the loop because we got a number, then we're going to return input num. Now, if we run this, hopefully the program will work. Let's try it. Enter our guess. 50. Too low. 75. Too high. Let's do 62. Too high, so let's do 55. Too low. 58. Too low. 60. Too low. So it's got to be 61. Got it on the last try. And the program still works. Just like we imported randint from random, we could package this into our own little package that we can then do get numeric input, and then we can reuse this code in our future projects. That's sort of beyond the scope of this video. We will touch it in a future one. Speaking of future one, check top left now for my great video on two of the more complex data types, lists and tuples, which are extraordinarily useful. And in the comments below, please let me know how I'm doing. Am I going too fast or is it just right? And with that, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one.